Okay, here's the finished sample that I made in another video, and I had started this way actually. I had started this from an interim part of the braid. This is really like starting from the center of a braid, a loop bundle. When you want to make an extra long braid, you would start like this. You would have much longer ends, but you would start with with all your loops knotted, each loop knotted individually at both ends of the loop, or shaped anyway, each loop separate. Then tie your loop bundle wherever you want to start the braid, if it's in the middle of the braid or this is close to one edge, and start braiding in one direction. Finish. I finished. I made a little fringe at the bottom of braided little mini braids. Then you take it off, untie the knot like the way I just demonstrated, turn this around, and braid the other half, if it's a whole half. Here it's just the top fringe of the braid. A reason that it's kind of nice to start, if you're going to do this, start with an open area, a divided area in the braid, if that's something you want there anyway, and not to start with the tied together bit at the top, the square braid part, is that you can put when you're going to come around on the other side, let's have the dark up just like I started with, you can put your finger in here and just ease the loops down, and you have them all on your hand. They're set up and ready for your fingers to go, and you've already found the uppers and lowers. Whereas if it's you can find them also if it's in a square braid section, but it's just a little slower. You have to pick them out. This is a very easy way to kind of insert your hand into the loops. I'm going to put this loop that I braided originally the bottom of the braid, I'm going to suspend that over whatever I'm hanging my braid from, and separate the loops into the two sections. When you bring your loops out of the bottom here and you're going to make a square braid to tie it together, it doesn't really matter. The loops don't have to be in the exact order that they theoretically should be in. If you had started, say, set them on a comb, you want them to be not twisted and sort of in a reasonable order at the top. On another chapter or whatever post on my website, I talk about getting them out of A-fell order if they're in A-fell order, if you're braiding a V-fell braid, but it doesn't, for a small braid like this, it doesn't really matter. So basically now I want to tie together my loop. I want to make a short section of square braid and then make a fringe like I did at the bottom. However, I also want to show you how to do I forgot to do it in my previous video, how to do the turning twice trick to keep if you want to make a square braid pattern and keep it square even though the pattern wants to be a divided braid, like all dark up for a long length of braid makes a loop. It's, if you braid it with regular, if I keep braiding this with all dark shanks up and keeping them up, I will be making no turns, and that makes the braid divide. But if I want to have a long section like that in my braid that is solid and not divided, I can choose instead to turn the loops twice instead of not turning them at all, and that will keep the same color up. And there's different ways to turn it twice. So I will join this loop with turning twice, keeping all dark shanks up. That's going to be my pattern. I will have all dark up. I can tell you ahead of time, on the edge, some of the light color will be visible on the edge. That's just the way it's unavoidable. It depends on which direction you're turning loops. I'm going to be turning from above, so a little bit of the lower color will show on top. If I turned from below, a little bit of the upper color would show on the bottom. It's however you want to do it. Turning twice means you can do it a slow way, which is, you can see what's going on, where you turn once, Light is now up, and then you continue that turn in the same direction and turn it again. Dark is up. So that's sort of the easy way to see what's happening. Tighten, and then again on the other side I'm going to turn first once, and then help it along by turning it another time, twice. It's now made a full 360-degree revolution, and dark is back up. This will keep the braid, make the braid tie together into essentially a somewhat square braid, a single braid, and not be divided. Yet the color will not change. The main color on top will not change. So again, I'm doing it now. I'm already doing it the way I normally do it. Here's another way to turn twice that's a little faster, and it's kind of hard at first because you're going to reach behind the upper shank and you're going to get the lower shank and bring it around. And it's very awkward at first, but what I've ended up doing is I help it by pushing the upper shank down with the thumb. Push that upper shank down, and then I can sort of see the lower shank, and I grab it and just pull it over. So it gets in one move, it gets a whole revolution. I haven't been counting my rows, so I don't know if I even need to do this very much longer. But so here is turning once, but if I reach behind and get the lower loop, a little fussy getting it off, that's turning the loop twice. So here I might have to pick it up. That, I can see, I dropped it and I picked it up, and I can see, looking up here, it has no turn. I can see that. It's coming out at the fell. I can see it coming out dark and continuing dark to the top of my finger, so I'm going to give it 1, 2 turns. That's a double turn. So you can keep doing this, either turning it like that and manually turning it over again. And that's one way, turning twice. And eventually you'll probably get a little irritated with that and want to do something quicker, and whatever way you find that works is fine. Just a way to get it to make a complete 360-degree, excuse my squeaky table, and what you end up with is that. It's all dark up, and yet it's united into a solid braid. It doesn't divide the way it did here when I did not turn the loops. This is the sort of the normal all dark up pattern. You have no turns. And here you substitute turning twice for no turns. Okay, so now I'm ready to make my braidlets. I drop half. This is just like the other side. And so I probably don't even need to demo this, but this is just a nice way to make a braid with a similar beginning to the end. Pull those tight that I'm leaving hanging. So, you know, I would normally, if I'm ending and beginning a braid like this, I will compare the length of my braidlets to the ones on the other end and try and make them about the same. And I may or may not want the pattern to match, so here's the other end. That is about the length, the right length. So I can just actually cut all the loops off here. I have enough room to, this is long enough to tie them. Up, around, and down. An overhand knot that ends pointing, with the strand pointing down, and then I usually do it twice. Over. So I will do that on both sides. I will do that on the after I'm done here. I will then braid these ones, and I can decide whether to braid them matching these in color. There's really only 2 pattern possibilities with a 3-loop braid. Each of these will end up being a 3-loop braid. I mean a 3-strand braid. A 3-strand braid on the top and a 3-strand braid on the bottom. Yeah, I'll just do all dark. So And again, trying to make it about the same length as the ones next to it and the ones at the other end. And then I'll have a braid that has sort of two matching ends. This is what I probably always do for an extra long braid, that I start from the center, and it's a fine way to start and end any braid. I'm going to undo that a little bit. I might have made these a bit shorter than the ones on the other side, but they'll serve to illustrate the process anyway. So tying off and then trimming the bottom. This is just one possible way to. I described this a bit in my longer loop braids and starts without ends post on my website. So I may post this there as well. So then I just trim the ends off. Toss them, and here's the sample braid with both loops. I didn't try too hard to make the loops the same length. That's something you can certainly do. And there's the ends. And here's the pattern changing bits that I demoed in my other video. Thank you for watching.